welcome back to another CAPS video. My name is Surya and I'm a grade 12 student from Toronto. Today we have a very special guest here to talk about her experience in the McMaster Health Sci program. So can you introduce yourself for us?
Yeah. My name is Sofia. I use she, her pronouns. I'm from Etobicoke, so I went to in high school. So yeah, like West End, Toronto kind of thing. I'm in my third year of health sciences, just like the core stream at McMaster. I'm a full-time student here. I've lived both on residence in my first year at Mac, and now I live in an off-campus house, which is just like a few blocks from the university. So I have a little bit of experience of both. And some other things I'm doing here is I'm also trying to get a certificate in immunology and microbiology. It's like a part of our program that we can do. And I'm trying to get a minor in music. But yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Wow, that seems like a heavy course load for you.
At times, it can be.
So can you describe like McMaster and your program? How's the campus environment?
Yeah, absolutely. I did not know a lot about Mac when I was first looking into going here. So yeah, I'm glad you guys are doing these interviews and stuff. McMaster itself is usually known as a very like academic and research oriented university, but there's definitely a lot more to it than just that. I do see that the students are pretty driven in those ways. So yeah, the program itself. So again, I'm in health sci, it's science-based. So that's kind of what I know best and what I can speak on. And again, I'm just going to be talking about my personal experiences and views. Yeah, so McMaster itself, very research oriented, I would say, and like academic oriented. And then health sci itself, as a science program, I think it's a little bit non-traditional. So when I was first looking at applying, that's like one of the things I noticed. So some of the examples that I give that some students have already heard of, the assessments within the program can be a little bit different. So this was like a big kind of thing I had to adapt to when coming here from high school. For example, my biology tests in first year were crossword puzzles, which is very, yeah, I know, it would like surprise a lot of people, but the program incorporates a lot of reflection-based classes, which are really good learning opportunities, like never something I did a lot in high school. So those were a bit of a challenge, but definitely super interesting. It also incorporates a lot of self-driven learning. So for example, in second year, my cell biology course, you were just put in a group, given a disease to work with, and then you just kind of spend the whole semester doing your own research about the disease and presenting bi-weekly to your professor. So yeah, it was really cool. You could kind of learn what you want to learn about things. And lastly, just as a whole, I think the campus environment is really welcoming. It's something I noticed that was unique about Mac, in my opinion. And they have a really strong upper year community. So I found that a lot in first year. The upper years are always down to help you out, whether it be like directly school related academically or just in general about university life and like finding housing, for example.
Wow, that was great. um, so off of that, you said that it's a very welcoming environment. So how is the social aspect? Was it very easy to make friends and get involved?
Yeah, I would say so. I think something that I heard about Mac, which now I think is very true, is that you can find what you're looking for here in terms of the social aspect. So if you're very like academically driven and that's what you want to focus on in university, you can find those types of people here. If you like love to hang out with your friends all the time and are very social, you can also find that here. So I think it's a very diverse university in that perspective. Yeah, so I think it's pretty easy to make the friends that you want to make kind of at university that have a similar like goal in mind in terms of their like academic and social career. Yeah, so yes is my answer.
Do you think that that's like specific just to the health sci community or like overall?
I actually think it's overall. A lot of the friends I made in first year actually were outside of my program. So it wasn't until I had smaller classes that I started talking a lot more to people within my program as well. Yeah, I think it definitely goes for the university as a whole. And I think it has a really cool balance of a bunch of different programs. So you meet a lot of different people and it's really cool.
So you spoke about like the social aspect and like the class environment. So is that like one of the reasons why you chose McMaster over the other universities you applied to?
A little bit, yeah. There are a lot of great opportunities in Canada. I think McMaster is awesome, but there's also a lot of other awesome universities. I personally was deciding between Western for MedSci, UBC for just general science, and then McMaster Health Science. when it came down to, I think, June. So yeah, they were definitely very, very different programs. Something that really spoke to me about like health sciences in particular is that it's a smaller program. And I think I'm really glad that's something I considered, because it does make a difference when you're able to kind of have smaller class sizes. And like I happen to like be able to know a lot of people that are in my year of health sciences. So that was just something really cool that I really like appreciated that I considered in my decision. The other things about McMaster in general is obviously it's closer to Toronto than a lot of other universities. So even if it's like an hour or two difference, in terms of like the distance, it still actually makes a big difference, because it's only like a 40-minute drive to Toronto sometimes. So that was really nice, especially considering UBC, very big difference. And yeah, and then I think lastly, the upper year community here at Mac is something like I noticed when I was visiting, and that's something that really spoke to me. I think that's like applicable honestly for a lot of universities, but especially at Mac, that's what stood out to me and what like made me want to come here.
So like what opportunities and clubs did you have access to throughout your past 3 years here?
Tons. It's kind of overwhelming. I think McMaster has over like 300 or something like wild like that clubs. So you can really find what you're looking for. At the start of every school year, they have a club fest, which is basically just kind of all clubs set up, usually a poster board outside, or if it's virtual, it's different. So you can kind of explore all the different clubs here. In first year, I got involved with a service called Spark, which is they put you basically in a group of first year students, and they have 2 upper year mentors per group. And you go through a lot of like character building exercises and teamwork building, like just a lot of cool stuff. You really grow as a person. And that's something I really enjoyed in my first year. Apart from that, yeah, I think the McMaster Student Union is something I got involved in a lot. So that's the kind of organization that oversaw Spark, that club that I was a part of. They also have a lot of different services. So they have something called Macademics, which runs like more academically oriented things at the university. That's something I'm a part of now. So for example, we'll post like study tips and that kind of cool stuff, and it's all research based. So there's like so many different things you can get a part of, become a part of at McMaster. It's hard to just like summarize it, but those are just some of the things that like really shaped my experience here.
In your later years, did you have access to co-op opportunities or internship placements? And were they required for your program? How did that work?
Good question. So for health sciences, they're not required. It's not like a built-in thing, like it might be for programs like engineering and business. That's usually where you'll find like co-ops at Mac. We do have a platform where you can find them. It's called Oscar Plus. So all students have access to it, and there will be job postings there. A lot of people also just find placements by themselves. Yeah, so both are good options. I personally didn't use Oscar Plus when I was like finding opportunities for the summer, but I think it was just as accessible, and a lot of people, both like inside the program and in the office that oversee it, know a lot about the different opportunities for students. So there's definitely resources to help you find things.
Great. So back to like the application process, how was like the application in general, and did you require extracurriculars, supplementary essays?
All right, so the health sciences application, basically you apply over OUAC like every program, and then around, in my year, it was early February, it changes like every year, but about that time, you'll get sent a supplementary form that you just fill out. You have access to the questions like way beforehand. I'm pretty sure they're already released for this year, but yeah, so you basically just fill that out with your answers. Most people pre-write them, right? Because you have access to the questions a long time before then. And it's just 3 questions, and I think it's about 2,500 characters each, so not like super long or anything. And that's it. Then you submit it, and then you wait to hear back. Technically, there's no extracurriculars required. That's not something they look at. It just depends how your supplementary is written. You can incorporate some of the extracurricular activities or experiences that you've had in your supplementary questions, like answers. But in general, yeah, you don't have to have any technically.
Health science is a very competitive program to get into. So do you have any tips for students applying right now or have written their supplementary?
Yeah, something I would say is if you know anyone that's in the program, I would like reach out if you have any questions. I think people here are pretty friendly. So they're always like, for the most part, down to help, or you can reach out to me. Yeah, so I would say if you can do that, that's great. In terms of the supplementary itself, I would say that's like the most important part of the application. My tips would be definitely take your time to think about what you want to write about. Personally, I spent like a lot more time thinking about what I wanted to talk about in my answers than actually like writing it. And the other thing I would say is try to incorporate like personal experiences into your answers. I think that's kind of what makes the questions stand out. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And just kind of be yourself. I know everyone says that, but yeah, just talk about your experiences, do your best to answer the questions, and just like really explain your reasoning. And yeah, that's the advice I can give you. And if you can have like, if you finish it ahead of time and can have people read over it, obviously that's awesome. Get some feedback on your answers. But yeah, those would be my tips.
I know I'm like jumping through questions here, but can you talk about like your workload, the courses, and like how you manage your time, especially this online format?
Yes, for sure. I think the course load for any program, but especially I think my experience in health sci, it definitely varies from year to year. So in first year, I would say I had a little bit of an easier time than in second year. In second year, I think I struggled way more with balancing my course load. And then the first semester this year, struggled a little bit more. And then now I have a bit of a lighter semester. And I think that's a lot in part because the like program itself just has a lot of elective space. So you really get to decide what courses you're taking when. So for example, like last semester, I was enrolled in like organic chemistry and an immunology course and health policy course, which were all super cool. I really enjoyed them, but definitely are like very rigorous. Yeah, so it completely depends on the semester, I would say, and what kind of direction you want to go. And yeah, that being said, the program does have a lot of elective space, so you're really able to shape your degree and do things when you want. And in that same sense, you're also able to shape what classes you take. So a lot of the times I find if I'm more interested in the classes I'm taking, it doesn't feel like it's as heavy of a workload, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's something really cool that I also really enjoyed and considered when I was applying. In terms of managing my time, especially with online, it was an adjustment for sure. I'd say I spent a lot of time, a lot of my housemates as well, we all spent a lot of time on campus. So it was a big adjustment, just kind of working from home and not having as much structure in our day and like going to lecture at assigned times kind of situation. Yeah, so something that I personally did is just working on making a schedule and a routine for myself. So that would kind of mimic what I used to have being in person in school. And that's like really made the world of a difference. And especially things like watching lectures at a certain time each week has really helped me personally. Yeah, so just like little things like that make it feel a little bit more normal until all of this is kind of resolved.
For sure. So finally, do you have anything else to add? Anything you want to share with the high schoolers watching?
Come to Mac. Yeah, I would say I really like my experience here. It's been awesome. I'm gonna miss it when I graduate for sure. I would consider all the things like I chatted about. Definitely do like look into the programs you're applying to a lot because there's so much that I didn't know about health side before I came here that was all like available online and stuff. And yeah, there's a lot you can find out about just talking to people and like looking things up online. So definitely, yeah, look into the programs that you're considering a lot. Um, and I think the last thing is Hamilton is actually a really cool place to be. Hamilton has a lot of like nature around it, which not a lot of people talk about, especially like when I was applying, I personally never heard of that, but that's also been like a pretty big experience at Mac. Mac itself backs out onto a nature reserve called Coots Paradise. So there's a bunch of like hiking trails there that go out onto the lake. And Hamilton's also the waterfall capital of the world, which is really cool. So there's a lot of other stuff to do here apart from just being at McMaster, obviously when things reopen after COVID. But yeah, I think that was really cool and it definitely played a part in my experience here. So hope that helps.
Thank you so much, Sophia, for sharing your experience with us today. Those are all the questions I have for you. To all those watching, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact our student ambassadors through Instagram or comment them down below. Thank you so much, Sofia, and for speaking with us today, and we'll see you guys in the next CAPS video.
Thanks for having me.